What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my NFL DFS Showdown picks for Thursday, and we have an absolute banger. We have the New York Giants going against the Washington football team, a massive 40.5 point game total. Now, that is actually very, very low. But yeah, it should be interesting. Should be a very fun slate regardless of the game. Washington is going to be 3.5 point favorites here. So yeah, looking forward to breaking it down, trying to find some value, trying to talk about our favorite plays on the slate. So before we get into it, if you guys can leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, to be much appreciated so you don't miss out on all the other content throughout the week. I got my core plays video out for Sunday, and I'll be getting out my full player pool for Sunday coming up within the next couple days here. So I guess we'll start by talking about the guys up top. So we have Daniel Jones, who's going to be the most expensive at $10,400. He actually had a really decent game last week, scored 22.38 DraftKings points. And yeah, I think he's fine. He has a little bit of rushing yard upside himself. He had 6 rushing attempts for 27 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. Did fumble. If I would pick between the two, it probably would be the Heineke side. Heineke's going to have a much better matchup. He has rushing yard upside himself, replacing Ryan Fitzmagic. Wish Fitzmagic was on the slate, but he's not. I think Heineke's probably going to be my preferred pick out of the two. And, typically I'm looking to really get quarterbacks into my lineup, but this week, Daniel Jones, 10,400, Heineke, 10,200, like those don't interest me a ton, to be honest. But again, if I was to pick one, it would be Heineke. I couldn't imagine getting them both in my lineup. I guess you could try to do so. But yeah, Heineke for me. If anything, I think it's one of those weeks where you don't need a quarterback just because the options aren't that great. It's a very low total game. I can see Washington, being up. I can see Washington running the ball a ton where, Heineke's not going to get a ton of opportunities. On the flip side, I can see Daniel Jones having a very tough matchup against Washington. It's just very, very ugly, especially when you take a look at the pricing. Going down, more ugliness. So Saquon Barkley, so he is questionable. He probably does play. Last week he played, I think around like 50%. Yeah, 48% of the snaps last week. I can kind of see that being the same case scenario here. And at that point, at 10,000, there's really just no point in playing him. Last week he had 10 rushing attempts, 26 yards, 1 reception on 3 targets. Again, he's probably going to be limited, even if he does not play, which I really do expect him to play. If he does not play, we'll talk about who to play instead. But as of now, if Barkley does play, I really don't have much interest in him. I know he's a very talented running back, but it's a short week. It's a Thursday game. I just don't see myself having much Barkley. So this is where I start to actually have some interest on the slate. Antonio Gibson, I like it. I like the game script. Washington, 3.5 point favorites, very low total game. I can see Washington being up. I can see them running the ball a ton. He actually had 20 rushing attempts last week, 90 yards. He actually had 5 targets with 3 receptions. So they're actually involving him in the passing game this year. So yeah, if they keep that up, Antonio Gibson, 9,600 definitely does seem expensive for a running back, but I do think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. I think there's touchdown upside, and I'm very high on Gibson in general. I like the matchup. So Gibson is somebody I do like this week at 9,600. Going down, I've always been a big McLaurin guy. McLaurin's somebody else that I do like. 4 targets, 4 receptions. Fitzmagic definitely does hurt him here, but I think Heineke's going to definitely try to get him the ball. He has 9,000 as well. I like the matchup against the Giants. I think McLaurin's somebody that I do like quite a bit. So McLaurin, Gibson are my favorite 2 guys so far. So going down a little bit, Golladay and Shepard, I'll kind of pair these guys together. I think they are both in play. Tough matchup against Washington. But yeah, Golladay is fine. He had 6 targets last week, 4 receptions, 64 yards. I think the more popular guy, just because he did better last week, was going to be Shepard, who absolutely went off. 9 targets, 7 receptions, a touchdown. I think they're both in play. I think they both have some solid upside. I'll be splitting exposure between the 2 in my lineups of Golladay and Shepard. Going down a little bit, Logan Thomas, I definitely think he's in play as well. Again, no Fitzmagic definitely hurts him, but 3 targets, 3 receptions last week, had a touchdown as well. Solid matchup against the Giants. I think Logan Thomas is somebody to consider. Going down, Slayton's in play as well for me. I think all 3 of the Giants wide receivers are in play. Slayton's fine, 7 targets himself last week. Slayton, Golladay, Shepard are all going to be my player pool, as well as Thomas, McLaurin, and Gibson. So those are pretty much the guys up top for me. Going down a little bit, so we'll kind of talk about the defenses. So Yeah, I mean, I guess you could play the Giants defense. It is a very low total here. The Giants are 4,200 going against Heineke. Maybe the Giants defense can be viable in a game that's not projected to score a ton. But my preferred defense is going to be the better defenses of the two. It's going to be Washington football team. Pretty expensive for a defense, but there's a lot of value that we're going to talk about that I think it makes it so you could probably get them in your lineup. 7 points last week. Very good matchup against the Giants here. I like Washington. Again, it's a very low total game, 40.5 point game total, which is, I believe, one of the lowest on the entire year. Going against Daniel Jones and the Giants, I think Washington is definitely a defense to consider if you're looking to go that route. Evan Ingram's out. We'll talk about who's going to be replacing him there in terms of tight end. No interest in Humphreys at wide receiver there for me. We'll talk about kickers a little bit. Very low scoring game. I can't see myself getting to any kickers here. If anything, I'll go to Hopkins, who is 3,800. If anything, Washington has the higher implied team total. I believe it's around like 22 points. So yeah, Hopkins for me. If anything, not going to play the Giants kicker, to be honest. So like I said, Evan Ingram is going to be out once again this week, and Kyle Rudolph is going to be the starting tight end. Last week he did have 5 targets, 2 receptions. Rudolph is very, very cheap, 3,200. I don't mind him as a value play there. Going down, we're going to talk about some more value. McKissick is interesting, 2,200. In terms of like the game script, I do think Washington's going to be up, so I don't really think they're going to be using a ton of McKissick. And he did play a decent amount of snaps, 36% of his snaps last week, but only 1 target. Gibson, shockingly, to me at least, had 5 targets, and McKissick, the pass catcher, only had 1 target and then also 1 rushing attempt. So I'm curious to see how they use McKissick throughout the year. But yeah, that was something that definitely surprised me. So I do think they're trying to make Antonio Gibson a priority here, and I'm not sure how much you're going to use McKissick. So that's something to think about as well. Yeah, Devin Booker, just no interest as well. Tough matchup against Washington. He's going to play some snaps more than likely if they do limit Barkley, which I definitely expect they do. He just didn't really do much with the time he had on the field. 4 rushing attempts, 7 yards, had a target, had a reception for 6 yards, only scored 2.3 DraftKings points. It's just really hard for me to get there. If Saquon Barkley is out for some reason, I think, yeah, that makes Booker a phenomenal play at 2,800. But if Barkley does play, it's just really hard for me to get to Booker. I mean, I guess you could play him. He's probably going to play, get some snaps, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really intrigue me all that much. So this is, one of the best value plays on the entire slate. De'Ami Brown, he has 1,400, so he's actually the Washington football team's number 2. He's actually number 2, but the number 2 wide receiver on the team. And last week, he did not do great. Maybe that does lower his ownership a little bit here. He had 4 targets for 1 reception, -2 yards, only scored 0.8 points. But you're telling me we're going to get the number 2 wide receiver on the Washington football team at 1,400. I think he is one of the best, if not the best, value play on the entire slate. And then there's one more guy I'll touch on. This is really dumpster diving here. I might have to just look up his name. Let me type it in. Caden Smith. The Giants backup tight end. 3rd string tight end. Evan Ingram is out, so he's going to be the 2nd tight end. 200. He's 200. A catch will hit value there. Okay, so Caden Smith, somebody else that stuck out to me in terms of value. I'm not sure how much he did play on the field. Yeah, 48% of the offensive snaps for Caden Smith. So he's on the field 48% of the time. So yeah, I think Smith's somebody to look at in terms of if you really want to go down there and dumpster dive. So quick recap. So in terms of value, like I mentioned, Caden Smith, Kyle Rudolph, solid value since Evan Ingram is out. De'Ami Brown is really solid value as well. Going up top, the quarterbacks are tough this week. Usually I make a focus on getting the quarterbacks in there, but Daniel Jones, tough matchup. Andy's Daniel Jones. Heineke, don't love it, but he has that rushing yard upside against the Giants. If I was to pick between the two, it'd be Heineke. I really like Gibson, really like McLaurin. Going to split exposure between these Giants wide receivers who are definitely all in play. Galladay, Shepard, and Slayton are all in play. I think Thomas is fine. And then just going down and getting your value. If you like the Washington football team defense, I think they're okay. If you want to play a kicker, it'd probably be the Hopkins side for me. But yeah, interesting slate. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are as well. Maybe not the best game in the world, but it's still another opportunity to make some money, have some fun. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. And good luck for this awesome game tonight. See you guys.